Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the philosophy material available to us these days. Nowadays, people usually access philosophy through online searches, introductory books, and if you can really handle it, the original classical texts or even the academic papers. And vast majority of these resources provides basically three main types of informations: the descriptions, conjectures, and some very dry texts. I'm just going to quickly go over them as I'm sure you've seen them all before. So what I mean by description are things like history of philosophy, big names and famous schools in different periods of time, such as from ancient Greece to Enlightenment, from the continental tradition to the more contemporary analytical philosophy. Another kind of description are topics in philosophy, basically categories of things philosophers have been talking about: ethics, epistemology, metaphysics, etc., etc. And if you're not picky about it, political philosophy, science, or even mathematics might be considered by some as a kind of philosophy. Yet another kind of descriptions are big questions, usually involve some big words. Concepts such as justice, moral, love, knowledge, nature, essence, and the list goes on. Basically any creative combination of these concepts inside a question. And the last kind of descriptions are quotes and sayings about philosophy. How many times have you heard? Philosophy is about self-knowledge. It's about questioning everything. It's a journey. It's about knowing you know nothing. It's the love of wisdom. It's about living a good life, or even just making a good cup of coffee. I mean, knowing all these are good background information for a subject, but as you can see, they might not exactly address our original questions. Other than descriptions, they are conjectures. Basically, they are just nice sounding guesses by philosophers, and they might just contain a bit too much contradiction to apply in real life. From overgeneralizations such as libertarianism, utilitarianism, rationalism, to make up concepts such as Plato's ideal form, categorical imperatives, and so on. And lastly, there are dry texts, which I'm not even going to explain. Just look at these. They are just the first page of two philosophy classics. Don't get me wrong, I think they are dry for good reasons. It is likely that they are focusing on straightening out the misconceptions of their time, which will make it sound less relevant in our time. The formal writing style are also understandable as they want to sound legit and to be taken seriously, which is not easy to do when you're the first one who bring up new concepts to challenge the existing paradigm. Being the first also mean that they lack the concepts and words to describe the problems in a simple way. Simple, straightforward concepts and words might not even exist at that time. We often take for granted the words and concepts we use to shape our thoughts and speech. These are all understandable. But again, how does that address our original questions? I think this has to do with our expectations. You see, I think although we all aim to answer the big questions we have in our minds, but at the back of our head, we all kind of know philosophy tends to underdeliver. So instead of expecting the ideal situation where our questions get completely resolved, we kind of settle for inferior alternatives. Very much like people settling for social media over face-to-face interaction. But I digress. Anyways, all of us are bombarded with issues on a daily basis. That makes a short getaway doesn't seem too bad. Whether it is some fun facts, history, or quotes, even competing views and arguments. And I think these competing views and arguments are particularly desirable if you're a nihilist deep down, or you don't believe there will be a complete answer to these questions, or simply wishing to avoid making judgments on these matters altogether. For those who still has the spirit to get an actual answer, inspiration may be something you will happily settle for, especially for the hopeful ones. And if you are a realistic person, you may want to have answers that are good for a variety of social situations, such as at a dinner table, at a cocktail party, or even answering questions from your child. I mean, these socially acceptable justifications are just useful for everyone. I mean, everyone has to be pragmatic to some degree. At the same time, even if you live in complete solitude, I think you might still want an answer or justification for yourself. Because I think everyone wants to feel good or feel right about the action and decision that they made. And I think although these philosophy information out there didn't exactly answer our original questions, they kind of exactly feeds these alternative needs that we have. I mean, facts, histories, and quotes can surely provide distraction to our original questions. They can also inspire. And the big names associated with these informations can often be a socially acceptable justifications, as we all have a tendency to appeal to authorities. Conjectures by gurus can very much do the same. As for dry texts, depending on the person you are and your social circle, I think they can serve these alternative needs as well.